You could just feel the energy coming from them in a particular way. That was so good. That was so good. This listening to the Spirit thing is something that we've been talking about for a while. We want to make sure that we do stay in tune with the Spirit, because the Spirit is what's going to lead us and lead the church. But speaking of leadership, that's where we're at today. The lectionary offers us a very good position and point to jump out of discipleship, and we're going to go into leadership. We've been following the Mark text for a long time, and talking about what it means to be a follower. Last week was Trinity Sunday. The week before that, we were Pentecost. We've had so much going on, and we've stayed in the Old Testament. Now we're going to get on a particular theme. We're going to talk about leadership, and we're going to stay on that for a couple of weeks. This is my buddy in the service, Arnold Cruzmark. Haven't seen him in probably 40 years. I don't know. Well, we went to basic training together. Arnold was not your poster child leader, but recruiting poster person for the Army. In fact, Arnold was terrible as a soldier. He couldn't run from here to there. You could just tell there was just something about Arnold that he wasn't into this soldiering thing very much, Arnold, you could... Whenever you had to perform in front of the drill instructors to show that you could take this M16 apart and put it back together, Arnold would put a piece in and then look up and wait for this or this, because he wasn't sure what he was supposed to do. Arnold was just what you would call just not a soldier. And I thought many times, what are you doing here? Why are you here? Look at me. Look at me. And I could do everything. I could run from here to there. I was a faster. I could, high fire the company. You want somebody to shoot, I'll shoot. You want somebody to run, I'll run. You want somebody to lead and be a squad leader and show people how to drill, I can do that. Arnold can't do nothing. But he's big, he's a big guy, but Arnold. And around the 5th week or so of basic training, it got out that there's just a rumor. One of them rumors that Arnold has a job at the Pentagon if he can pass basic training. Who all believes that? No, we don't believe that. So we graduate, he goes on his way, I go on my way, we're done for a while. And 2 years later, I'm at South Post Fort Myer, which is 2 miles from the Pentagon, because I was stationed at the Pentagon. But I was at the PX, and lo and behold, guess who I run into? Arnold's there. Arnold's an E7. You don't know what that is? I'm an E4. I get to talking with Arnold about how things are going with him, and Arnold says, you ought to stop by my office sometime and we'll catch up. You got an office? In the Pentagon? And I thought, this is not right. This is not right. But it goes to leadership styles. It goes to leadership styles. It goes exactly to the message that we're getting this morning. Oh, I'm still having nightmares about that. But I was able to go home and find his picture in the yearbook and get him up. I'll never forget him. And Arnold was good. And Arnold was a great guy. Arnold had his own office in the Pentagon because Arnold, he was older than the rest of us, and you could tell Arnold had been around for a little bit. Mostly he'd been to school. Yeah. And Arnold knew stuff like encrypting. And Arnold had his own office in the Pentagon where he worked for one of the undersecretaries of the Army, and that's what he did. And when Arnold said, "What do you do?" I said, "I do supper and I'm late for it. I'll see you later." Yeah. I couldn't even bring myself to tell him I'm a grunt, I'm a nothing, and he's got an office. Leadership from above. Somebody recognized in Arnold something that we didn't see in basic training. And I thought he would be the worst person that you'd ever want to have in the service and have in your back, which he probably was. You wouldn't want to put him in the front line. But you wanted him in the Pentagon doing stuff that only Arnold knew how to do. Arnold was a leader. I thought of myself as a leader, as somehow someone who was gifted to the point where I can lead too. But it was different. See, I rose up into the ranks. It was selected by a group of people. Kind of like the judges. See, we're into this period now in Samuel that for the first time, they want to be like everybody else. We want a king. We want a king. Kings were divinely appointed from the deity. In 1500 years before Christ, in Babylonia, Marduk was a deity for Babylon. Marduk, the god Marduk. It even sounds like a wizard, doesn't it? Marduk gives his authority, his divine authority to Hammurabi. You know the name? Yeah. And Hammurabi receives his authority from the deity. The deity gives it to him, and so that he is the divine mouthpiece. And this is what goes on around the area of Canaan and with all the pagans that are there. They worship these different gods, and the gods are given, and the God gives humans, the kings, the mouthpiece to speak for them, so that everything they say is the same as if God says it. And now you've got the children of Israel who have been living for a couple hundred years with judges. Gideon, Samson, Jael, Deborah, and more, Samuel. They had judges that were doing just fine. That the judges were raised up from the people around them because they were colorful people, they were smart people, they were strong people, they fit the need of the people at the time. They could run, they could shoot, they could see, but they weren't divinely appointed. And now the people said, we've gotten by with that for a while, but we think we want to change. We think we want a king. We want a king. We want a king. And here's the bad thing about this, and you need to pay real close attention to this. What does God let them do? Have a king. Have a king. It goes against what God intends for these people, because once they have a king, and now when they've got this king, what happens when you have a king? You have a territory. And once you have a territory, now that you become more like a state. And so you've got this territory that the king rules. These were God's people. People of God. Religious folks. And now their identity is being shifted away from the fact that they were God's people to now they are Israelites. They're a nation, so to speak. And it becomes more political than it does religious. We've kind of got a little bit of the same thing going on in the different developing countries, and we can go back to when the United States was developing. We wanted this, but now we've come to about the same point to where we worship more the state that we live in, the state being the entity of the United States. We worship more of that than we do the God that provided us the opportunity to be here. The reality is that sometimes when we say we want, guess what God does? Okay. Okay, go ahead. You can do that. He told Samuel, tell the people, whatever they say, give it to them. Now, are you ready to suffer the consequences of that? Because that goes with it. You want a king? Okay. You get what comes with a king. And we know what happened with Saul and the things that goes on. And we'll have another king to follow. Not that the king is bad. Because we're going to have this Jesus coming from this Davidic line. It comes from this king. It's not the idea that they want a king. It's the idea that they've rejected God. God will work his way despite them to make sure that things work out. But when we start talking about leadership styles within the church, there's nothing wrong with either way. There's nothing wrong with Arnold's way. There's nothing wrong with my way. I kind of like Arnold's way. An E7 in 2 years. Can you believe that? Specialized rank to be that. Do you know who else gets that? The people that's in the band. They're so good at what they do, and there's only a few of them that can do that, so they just promote them, 2 years' time, what are you? I'm an E19, I don't know. They've got to put their sleeves longer so they can put all this stuff on. Interesting stuff, though. But it's the idea that there's nothing wrong with either way of coming into a leadership position. We're going to stay in leadership. And we're going to talk a little bit about Samuel. Samuel's going to disappear next week. Saul's going to disappear next week. Samuel's going to make him king this week, and next week God's going to say, I'm tired of it. We need to move on. But we need to see what happens in the meantime as far as the personalities that are on the throne, leading the people that speak for the people. And think about our own leadership styles and what motivates us to do what we do. When I speak about leadership in the church, I'm talking about anybody that is both a leader and a follower. Because if you're a follower of Christ, in a certain sense of the word, you are a Christian leader. And so we need to know what motivates you. Why do you do what you do? Samuel made two big mistakes, because the more and Samuel was, this is what gets me, because Samuel was, why did they make Samuel king? Everybody read the story? First of all, he was big, stood a full head above everybody else. And the other thing, when he looked in the mirror, what did he see? Nobody is as pretty as he is. That's Samuel. And the people wanted a king that was just like, that was taller than anybody else, prettier than anybody else. Is that you? Because those kind of characteristics come with their own set of flaws, and they come with their own set of motivations, and they come with their own set of ideas about how to conduct yourself in the world. If you're bigger, smarter, taller than anybody else, it's hard for people not to, well, they have to listen to you, right? So we have to start thinking about our own motivations. Saul's motivations got him in trouble. He didn't last no time, and God was done with him. First thing we hear about is that he thought he was like the priest, and so he offered the sacrifice instead of Samuel. And Samuel comes to him and looks at him and says, what have you done? Well, you weren't here, so I thought, since I'm here, I am, after all, Saul. You see? Step usurping your authority. As a leader, we have a space we occupy. We work within certain parameters. But that doesn't give us the right to think that because I'm a leader here, that I can take care of business over here. There's a lot of lessons in the Samuel story for us. The second thing that Saul did was that when God told him to do a specific thing, he thought that he would do what he thought was best. God told him to don't take any spoils from you when you fight with Agag, the Amalekite king. And it clearly tells us in 1 Samuel 15 that not only did he not take the spoils and not do what God, he took the best that there was. The best sheep, the best cattle, the best fatlings, all the best. Well, I know what God said, but you can't, look at this stuff. It's too good to pass up, right? We're going to stay with leadership because that's you. And so we're going to keep challenging each other every week to start looking at things that, as far as what our motivations are for what we do, and why do we go through the world and try and how do we navigate our leadership positions. Keep in mind that we're reading from I am, this book, Lord of the Impossible. And like I said last week, that usually we only want God to operate between our resources and our experience, or our resources and that which God has always done. This is our limits of our own ability. So we want God to walk this platform above us on these two pillars, between what we think we have, what we think we can do, and box God in that way. So as leaders, this is the second point. As we raise up and start thinking about our own ministries as leaders in the church, that even something so simple as making disciples for Jesus Christ, for the transformation of the world, how will you go about that and expand this box and not be like Saul, who thinks that he can do whatever he wants to do simply because of his position, and be more like Samuel, who called him into account. We're going to even study David in 2 weeks. We'll get into it. We're going to see flawed characters We're going to see some different stories about people, and we're going to, each time, we're going to coming back to the same question is, what motivates you? Why do you do what you do as a leader? I've had to think about that this week quite a bit, because there's some, why do I think I have something that people need to listen to? And that's one of the questions we should ask each one of us as we try to share this gospel with the world around us. We should, start by expanding our view of God, how big our God is, what God has to offer to each person, and then start thinking about what our motivations are for offering it. Is it so we can look good? Is it so that we can build our church and make it bigger? Is it, what is the reason for it? Or is it just because this is what God tells us we're supposed to be doing? It's a tough challenge, but it has such great results. Because when we do get it right, when we do follow what God wants us to do, Saul had his moments. He built altars to the Lord. When he was doing what God wanted him to do, great things happened as far as the battles that he was able to fight. It was when he thought that he knew more than God did, is when he got in trouble. So as we think about our own church in Mesquite, in this area, what is it, what and why? What is it we need to do that stays within the parameters of what God wants us to do, and how will we do it? Why will we do it? We got a pretty good start this year on our ministries, on our motivations, but we're going to focus on leadership now, leadership development. All that gift assessments we've been doing, trying to get you to see what you're good at, what God has called you to do, your ministry, your gifts, and now how you're going to share these with the community, with the world. The story of Samuel and Saul is a good one. It's one for us to follow. Samuel's the one that we love, that's the basis for the song that we love to sing. We just love to sing it. That's a going out song. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I've heard you calling in the night. I'll go wherever you lead me. Going to be like Samuel. Going to be like Saul. And your leadership style is okay, whether you're like me or whether you're like Arnold. He may have chosen a better path. Just recognize what your motivations are and where it might take you. And it'll all be good. This is going to be a good series that we're starting on. I hope it blesses you a bunch. Thank you.